Good morning, friends. What a beautiful, glorious, inspiring day lies before us. God's glory, Christ's gift to us, our birthright. Walking with Christ, hand in hand. When you're right with Christ, all is right in your world, and all is right in my world. I'll tell you why in a moment, but first, quick thought on getting in the best physical shape of your life. There's spiritual shape, there's mindset shape, and there's physical shape. And I see a lot of people desperate to lose weight. They're extremely obese, very overweight, like myself, like I was, and something that I did when I was determined to get in shape years ago, after I got smacked around with cancer and had my left kidney ripped out along with a monster tumor. I decided I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to get healthy. The diet completely changed, but I decided, let's start running. And I started jogging, and I started running. And I got to a point where I was running 7 or 8 miles a day, and on the weekends, probably 10, 11 miles a day on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And at first, because I was eating the wrong foods, my joints were inflamed, my ankles, my knees, my legs, everything, my hips were hurting for a while until I got my diet right and until I lost a fair bit of weight. Because here's the thing about running, and here's why I don't do it anymore, and here's why I think it's a terrible idea if you're going to use that as a way to get fit and get in shape. Because a couple of reasons. First, running is incredibly stressful on the joints, incredibly stressful on the body, incredibly stressful on the frame, on the hardware. So per square inch, it is brutal on the shins, brutal on the ankles, brutal on the feet, brutal on the knees, and it's not sustainable long term. Especially, think about this, because I see very heavy people running. And so, long term, it is a recipe for disaster. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm 57. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your teens, running's great. Running's phenomenal. And by the way, if you're not overweight, if you're lean and in shape, a lot less stress on the joints, right? So, that's not what I'm talking about. If you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, especially if you're in your 50s, and you're very overweight, the last thing you need to be doing is running because of the incredible strain you're putting on the system. You should be doing things that build you up, not tear you down. More to the point, another reason why running is a horrible idea to get in physical shape and to lose weight is because it is a highly glycolytic activity. What does that mean? So, when you are running, you are tapping into glucose, your glucose stores for energy. When you're moving at a certain heart rate, your body has to tap into the sugar that is stored in your, known as glycogen, that is stored in your liver, that is stored in your muscular skeletal system, and that is stored in your blood. You don't have a lot of it. There's about 100 grams of glucose stored in your liver. There's about 40 grams of glucose, if I'm getting my numbers right, stored in your muscles. And there's maybe 4 grams of sugar at any given time stored in your bloodstream, okay, depending on circumstances. But these are rough numbers, and I believe those numbers are roughly correct. And if you're going on these long runs where you're huffing and puffing, right? And how do you know that that it's a glycolytic activity where you're tapping into those sugar stores? And I'll explain why that's a bad idea. Because you're unable to breathe through your nose. If you can't breathe through your nose while you're running, and you're panting and breathing through your mouth, it's a clear sign that you're taxing the heart to the degree that you have to pull in glycogen and sugar to fuel that run, which is why runners, long distance runners, which is why marathon runners, a lot of them rely on carbohydrates. They do these carb loads, these sugar loads, right, in order to fuel those long runs. Here's why it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea because if you are tapping into those glycogen stores, eventually, if you're going on a long run, you're going to run out of it. And so how are you going to make more sugar? Well, either you're going to overeat carbs, which is not a good idea if you're overweight, especially if you have blood sugar issues. And number two, it's a real bad idea because when the body runs out of glycogen, it taps into amino acids, it taps into protein. It tears down amino acids and protein. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and protein is the building block of your muscle. Amino acids are the building blocks of your muscle tissue because your muscle's made out of protein. And so, if you run out of glycogen on your runs, your body is going to turn to amino acids and it's going to turn to protein, it's going to turn to muscle tissue. We'll start tearing down muscle tissue in order to get the glycogen to complete the run. And so this is why that's a bad idea, because when you see, even if you start losing weight when you're running, what do you see? You see people who are what's known as skinny fat. That means they've lost 40 pounds, great because of all the calories they've burned, but they've lost a ton of muscle tissue in the process. Now, I'm not saying that you won't lose muscle tissue when you go on a quest to lose a ton of weight because you're obese. It's a natural thing, it's going to happen. But if you're constantly running to do that, you're tearing into, after you deplete your glycogen stores, you're tearing into your muscle tissue for those amino acids to convert them into glucose to fuel the run, and you're losing unnecessarily prized muscle tissue, which you do not want to lose. First of all, it looks horrible. You don't want to lose muscle tissue because you don't want to be flabby. You want to have a decent amount of muscle, right? You want to be fit and strong, and so you need muscle. So first of all, skinny fat is not a good look, okay? That's number one. Number two, muscle tissue helps support the system in so many ways. In so many ways. But if you want to understand longevity, and if you want to understand being strong, resilient, relentless, and healthy long term, you want as much muscle tissue on your body long term as possible. Those who have the most muscle tissue on their body into old age live the longest. Muscle is known as the organ of longevity. The true sign of how long you're going to live is how much muscle tissue you have as you age. The more muscle tissue you lose, the more likely you are to die early. If you want to learn more about muscle as the organ of longevity, listen to my podcast, the Alpha Human Podcast. I did a podcast a while back with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. It's all on the power of protein and why protein is so important and why muscle tissue is so important. Look up Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. She's a practicing doctor. She helps people. She's brilliant, and she truly understands why it's important, especially as you get to my age and beyond, why you want to keep as much lean body mass as possible. Running will not help that. It'll tear you down in more ways than one, not just your joints, but it'll tear down your muscle tissue. So, remember, as a general rule of thumb, you want to do things in the gym, you want to do things physically. Whatever your exercise routine is, you want to do things that build you up. And so what's a better idea than running for losing weight? Believe it or not, walking. Brisk walking. And again, how do you test whether you're tapping? Because walking will not tax your glycogen stores. Walking is not a glycolytic activity. It doesn't tap into glucose for energy. Guess what? It taps into fat. You use fat for fuel. So again, the test, are you able to breathe through your nose? If you're breathing through your nose during exercise, you're not burning glycogen, most likely. You're burning fat for fuel. And I am now in the best shape of my life. At 57 years old, I have no injuries. God bless, Christ bless me. Thank God I have no injuries. I'm feeling the best. I feel incredible. And I have the most lean body mass that I've ever had in my life at 57 years old. I've been the weight I am now before. I hover anywhere. I'm in the 150-ish range. I could go a little below, I could go a bit above. But in that range, I've been there before. I was there when I was running. But at the same weight now, I have more lean muscle tissue than I had then, because I don't run, because I don't tear into my muscle tissue. And when I exercise, I ensure that I only breathe through my nose. For the most part, that is the key, that is the signal. Breathing through the nose, I'm burning fat. And so I have the most lean body mass that I've ever had, and I am drug-free, by the way, just to be clear. I am not on any hormone replacement. I am not on any testosterone replacement. I am all natural. God's food, baby, God's food. That's not to say that if I was suffering symptoms of low testosterone, right, depression, low sex drive, brain fog, those are clear signs that you might have low testosterone, and if that's the case, get yourself checked out, go see a doctor. I'm not against that. It's not what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you, in my case, eating God's food, eating meat, eating vegetables, and eating fruit, and getting to the gym and getting vigorous exercise in, steady state, breathing through the nose, I feel the best I've ever had, the most lean body mass I've ever had, vascular, look at this, almost washboard abs, feeling great. And so we do things, the rule of thumb, do not, especially 40s, 50s, my age, let's just talk about my age range, the over 50 individual looking to stay in shape, especially I can speak to my own circumstances. And remember, I've been destroyed, decimated, beaten pillar to post by cancer twice, and I'm in the best shape of my life physically because I live by this rule of thumb. I do not do any type of training, any type of physicality, any type of exercise that tears me down. I only do things that build me up, make me stronger and more resilient. So if the exercise you're doing is leaving you depleted, strained, unrecoverable, brutalized, constantly sore, you're doing the wrong thing. You do things that build you up, that make you stronger, more resilient, more energetic, and make you feel good. That get the blood flowing, that gets the blood pumping. And so, my advice to anyone looking to get in shape, besides diet, we could talk about that another time, is get out there and walk. Get out there and walk. Get a weight vest. Put on a weight vest and walk. Grab some weights in your arms and walk around with dumbbells. Or just walk. Just walk. Get a few steps in and build those steps every single day. You'll be burning fat. You'll be getting great exercise. Walking is the greatest exercise there is. And yeah, I do a lot more than that. I walk 2 miles every day, and then on the weekends, I seek to get in at least 7 to 8 miles on a weekend, like a Saturday or a Sunday. And I try to do that both days when I can. At least one of those days is a 7 or 8 mile walk. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling strong. Christ has blessed me. He has healed me. I've connected with him today on the crucible. I saw Christ. I looked into his face. I looked into his eyes. I saw him on the cross. I prayed on how grateful I am that he has entered my life and that he has I pray for discernment. I pray for wisdom. I pray for him to give me guidance and direction and to show me how to live my life in a way that pleases him. And I do so every day. And so all is right in my world, because when I am right with Christ, all is right in my world. When I walk with Christ, all is right in my world. And so tomorrow I will talk more about how to understand the signal, from Christ, how to know that you're doing what pleases Christ, how to know what you're doing aligns with Christ, how to know that you're honoring him and glorifying him with your words and your deeds and your actions. Great day lies before us, pumped, enthused, inspired, feeling Christ's healing love and healing energy, healing resilience, healing relentlessness. Have a great day, stay hungry, walk with Christ. Sunny Mindset.